This is not clickbait. I promise. Hello there, and welcome back to the channel. So, I can't believe I've never talked about this on my channel. I think I did in a live stream like a while ago, but I think I briefly mentioned it, and I've talked about it on my Instagram, but I've never made a YouTube video essentially explaining my experience with this. With him. But today I wanted to tell you a little story, and I think you're gonna love it. Also, I want to mention that I recently went to San Diego Comic-Con and I actually got to see George in person talk about the Lucas Museum, which is coming next year. The Lucas Museum actually invited me out there to experience this panel, so big shout out to them. But speaking of Comic-Con, what if you could take everything you love about pop culture and put it onto a cruise ship? Like, seriously, think cosplay, panels, parties, meet and greets, artist alley, all while you're sailing across the ocean. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it's actually real, and it's called ComicCon Cruise, and it's happening January 30th through February 3rd, 2026, aboard the Celebrity Constellation. They're calling it the ultimate fan adventure, and I get it. You'll be cruising with creators, artists, fellow fans, celebrities, and incredible cosplayers. There's panels during the day and then parties at night, so it's literally just constant nerdy fun. It's everything we love about Comic-Con, just at sea. If all of that sounds amazing to you, here's a bonus. If you book a cabin for the first time using my code Carly, you'll receive $250 onboard credit to spend however you want. You can use it on shore excursions, stuff at the spa, and so much more. So yeah, this might be the coolest way to level up your fan experience. Don't forget to use my code Carly when you book. Now back to the video. So let's rewind to the summer of 2023, the evening of June 14th. This was the night I was lucky enough to attend the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny premiere at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. I was so excited because, of course, I'm not only a huge fan of Indiana Jones, but you never know who you might bump into at these events. I usually see a lot of friends that I haven't seen in a while, maybe friends that live up in San Francisco or from far away, or they all come in for this event. So it's always bound to be a fun evening. It's an excuse to get dressed up. So I'm at this event. I'm already having an amazing time because I'm seeing people that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm soaking in the atmosphere around me, and I see my friend who happens to manage John Rhys Davies, who's one of the sweetest people I've ever met. I got to see him and his team at this event, and it's always a joy to see them. But anyways, I'm standing with his manager in this middle line section. So at a premiere, they usually have a line that you can walk down and kind of bypass the press line. And then the middle line is for the people who are waiting for the people that are in the press line. And then the press line is where actors, guests, celebrities can do interviews with different news outlets. It's a whole like 3-tier type of situation. So I'm standing in this middle line with my friend while we wait for John, because I was going to say hi to him, and we're just casually catching up. And then all of a sudden, my friend goes like, "Oh, hey, look, there's George." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, because I'm looking at him like this. We're talking like this, and the press line is like, we're looking at the press line. And he's like, "Oh, look, there's George," and he looks behind me, and I'm like, "Oh, cool." Like, George Costanza, like George of the Jungle, Curious George, like any other George. It's like my brain was flipping through a Rolodex of like every single George imaginable, except the one, the only George Lucas. And then this is the moment where it gets surreal. So he says, "Oh, look, there's George." And I turn and I do like a double take. But in the middle of the double take, my heart does a cartwheel. It's like my heart just signed up for parkour classes. Everything is going to high gear because I don't know. I'm like, oh my God. And he's coming right at me. The George Lucas is walking towards me. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I say? Like, here is the creator of my favorite thing in the universe, Star Wars, walking towards me. I'm like wrestling with everything in my brain because, I mean, there's an unspoken rule that like, you just don't run up to George Lucas and fan out. You don't just come up and be like, oh my God,
You're George Lucas!
You gotta be respectful. And I also realized that this might be my one and only chance to ever meet George Lucas. So in that split second, because it is like a millisecond of me running, like everything going through my brain, tons of thoughts going through my brain at this moment, I decided to not let this opportunity pass. I just turned to him and I gave him a warm smile because he was looking at me dead in the eyes at this point. And I said, "Hi, George. It's nice to see you." And he says, and he goes like, "Hi." And he gave me the slightest George Lucas smile. And my heart was like, oh my God, oh my God. And what was also really cool was his wife, Melody, was walking right behind him and she smiled at me and then kept walking. And security was kind of like pushing them along because everyone's like, oh my God, that's George Lucas. He could have said nothing to me. He could have just like, he could have not even looked at me. He could have given me like the meanest face ever. And I am so grateful that I even got a hi. It was such a brief moment, but it was so special. I felt like what came out of my mouth at that moment saying, "Hi, George, it's nice to see you," is kind of just like a thank you for everything. Thank you for teaching me to fight for something larger than myself. Thank you for creating the greatest story of all time, the greatest love story, the greatest war movie, the greatest everything of all time. It was just kind of like a thank you for everything kind of moment. I didn't want to just be like, "Hi, George, thank you for everything. Love Star Wars, blah, 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 blah." I just said, "Hi, George, it's nice to see you." And he says, "Hi." I can't believe this happened. At that point, I'm like, I turned to John's manager and I'm like, oh my God, I just met George Lucas. I just talked to George. I just had an interaction with George Lucas. I've never gotten over this story. After that, I ended up seeing John Rhys Davies and we hugged and we said hi to each other. And then I went into the premiere and like into the theater and I see a bunch of my friends and I'm like freaking out. That I'm like, oh my God, I just met George Lucas. I just met George Lucas. I remember seeing my friend Jen Marie, Anakin and his angel is her on Instagram and everything. But I saw her and I was like freaking out. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just know I was like trying not to cry. I could feel it, but I was trying very hard not to cry because I had my red carpet makeup and dress and everything. I sat down and I'm like telling everybody that I just met George Lucas. It was just such a surreal moment, a surreal night for me. And again, I can't believe I never have told you about this story because it is such a big deal to me. I mean, to say you've met George Lucas, you can't just say that. That's a huge deal. But I was like, no one, in that moment, I thought, no one is ever going to believe me. No one is ever going to believe me that this actually happened. And I ended up whipping out my phone as fast as possible. And I just did like the most inconspicuous like selfie after this interaction and I have it. I'll put it on the screen. But whenever I took that photo, you could only see the back of George, but you can see the iconic plaid shirt and you could see Melody in that photo as well. I never believed I would ever have the opportunity to meet the maker. Thank the maker. Anyways, guys, that was my story about how I met George Lucas. I was kind of reminded of this story whenever I went to see him speak at San Diego Comic-Con for the first time and hear him talk about the Lucas Museum. I was like, I still can't believe that I actually met him. It's amazing how a simple hi can be one of the most unforgettable stories of your life. But anyways, thank you for listening and I hope you enjoyed this little story and I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and may the force be with you always. Bye.